Turn on the lights, feel the beat. Pressing tails can't be beat. Join the crew, take your seat. Welcome to the wrestle heat. Malapert Smark, time to fly. Stories told, catch your eye. Talking champs till we die. The smark's always high.
We'll see that. Everybody who wants to call themselves a contender, everybody who thinks they want to be somebody in this business, they will see that and they will run and hide, and we will continue to do whatever the hell we want in AEW because I command the AEW World Championship and we have the power.
All right. Let me stop that right there. Welcome to the Malapert Smark Podcast. I got Vlad with me, the wrestling expert. I try to play a little bit of AEW Dynamite from this past Wednesday. It was a big angle that they teased for the viewers on YouTube. I played some slides of the beginning of, supposedly this was supposed to be a takeover of TBS, right? TBS Superstation, which AEW is airing on. So that's what they advertised. So we were all waiting for that, and the slides I just showed basically just showed what happened, which was kind of funny. It was supposed to be a JD Drake match, which I wonder who the fuck JD Drake was supposed to fight, because he's kind of been feuding with LFI a little bit, but he kind of lost that feud. I thought it was over, but anyway, so the Death Riders came out and they didn't let him come out, and I don't know what the match was. I never found out. I'm curious what Tony Khan booked for this day for JD Drake on Dynamite. I haven't seen him on Dynamite recently. A lot of Rampage, a lot of Collision, a lot of Ring of Honor, but anyways.
Okay.
So basically the taking over the TBS station was, I think, the camera guy, right? Marina Shafir went up to the camera guy and basically shoved him, and they kind of told him to get in the ring and shoot the shot. Like he wasn't going to do that anyways, right? So
you took the words right out of my mouth. Yeah.
So basically, what's his name? Jon Moxley cut a promo about how he has the championship and he has the power to do whatever he wants, and that's why they're here stopping the show and stopping the match that was supposed to take place and cutting a promo. And so is that technically the power the champion has, Vlad, in any company? Does he have all the power? Can they just stop the show and take over the show and be like, hey, I'm the fucking champion? Like,
no. What? Obviously not. Obviously. When has that ever been the case?
I mean, I guess at times, like when Hogan did, okay, you know what? Let's just say it. We were all expecting some kind of NWO type storyline here. You know, something reminiscent of them taking over the production truck like Hall and Nash did. You know, actually not letting them air the show in some capacity. Or, you know, maybe in the ring, stopping a bunch of matches. Like the next match is going to come on. We're not going to let that happen. Nothing like that. So this has been a few days now, and I've seen a lot of people on the internet already comment on this about how pathetic it was. But anyways, I'll get comments from you in a minute. Let me just go ahead and finish what happened on this night real quick. But Orange Cassidy came out. He was going to cut a promo to retort what Jon Moxley said, and he said he's going to take that title back, and with that, take the power back in AEW. So, okay. And he also points out Wheeler Yuta as being one of the pawns in the Death Riders, and he's going to take him out next Wednesday before he fights Moxley at Full Gear. So then, basically, Moxley's crew is just going to leave. They're about to walk out, and that's when Darby Allin makes a surprise appearance, and he jumps off the I don't know what you call that, the balcony, sort of, at the,
I guess.
off the audience, and he jumps onto the Death Riders, and then there's a big melee. Here's Marina, you know, whacking Mark Briscoe with the briefcase, and she's gonna walk Jon Moxley out of here because, you know, he's like the president. She's like his Secret Service, I guess. So they go to the back. They're gonna jump in their car and run away, and I think Darby Allin basically jumps into the back of the pickup truck after them, and it's going to turn into a scene with Claudio and Darby Allin. So Claudio gets out of the car and does that spinny thing and slams Darby Allin into like the garage door, and that's when the Death Riders run off with Wheeler Yuta in the back seat. And then they show an image of Darby Allin here for you YouTube viewers, and he's all pissed off and he's hyped up and he's ready to fight them. So that was the angle on this day. This is November 13th. We're talking about on our review post I have a link in the description that will also have like a video if you guys really need to see the historical reference of what we're talking about. I know I glossed over it a lot, but it's angle number 7 in our review post that we've already posted for last Wednesday's Dynamite. But we're here to talk about it more in depth. And for that, I got Vlad, the wrestling expert. So this is our first topic of the day. No time limits. Sometimes I put a little time limit so we don't go on and on forever. But you know what? You actually text me today. You messaged me and said you requested special time to discuss AEW. So, well, first of all, I'll give our ratings for this.
Yeah,
so we did submit ratings for this. So here's our rating system for anyone new to the show. And, you know, for me, I gave it 2 thumbs down, man. I had to, because it was for the way it was hyped up and the way they, advertised it. It was such a dud. It was so bad. Like, historically, in terms of wrestling, this was garbage. And you gave it a thumbs down. So you only gave it 1 thumbs down, a regular thumbs down. You didn't like it on our scale. I hated it. So. Yeah. All right.
And I think you said you were debating putting it in the made me sick. Potentially, right?
Yeah, I honestly almost should have. But, all right, well, let me start with you. So, give whatever thoughts you want first on this angle, I guess, if you want to talk about the Moxley taking over the Superstation angle. And then after that, whatever thoughts you want to give about AEW in general. But go ahead, man. Floor is yours. Vlad, the wrestling expert. Thank you for being on. Go ahead.
Thank you. That was a great introduction. As far as this angle goes, I think we spoke on last week's show about how dumb it was to even state that Moxley is going to take over something. He's going to advertise that, because it makes you look ridiculous as a company. Like, what? Why would you advertise a guy that's invading the company, quote unquote, as, taking over the Superstation, or taking over the show, however you want to word it or define it, right? That was bad. No. But then what all he did was take an AEW cameraman and put him in the ring, and that's how he took over the quote unquote the Superstation, or took over the shows. Obviously very underwhelming, to say it mildly, right? Because that cameraman is going to be there. He's there regardless, as you said. What's the difference?
And JD Drake was the one guy, which, I could see them actually having a match for JD Drake. So, okay, but, still, that's the guy who...
JD Drake, come on.
That's the guy who... I know. That's the guy who did the job for the Death Riders on this day. Well, he took a steel chair shot to the back.
But that's all the people that have been doing the jobs. For the most part, is people that are on these other shows like Ring of Honor or Rampage, or maybe even Collision, but that nobody's really watching and nobody cares. But these are the people that have jobs because of Tony Khan, that probably don't deserve jobs in the first place. Or if they do, they I don't know. I don't know if they do or don't. I can't really tell you if any of them are any good at all. I would say they're probably not. So the point is, on that front, that's all they've been mostly working with, except for Darby, who, is an interesting character. And I guess if you want to say Orange Cassidy's a top guy in AEW, okay, fine. But he wouldn't be a top guy in any other company, in any other era, in any other planet except AEW, okay? So, yeah, that's basically why this whole thing is fizzled out from the beginning, from the get-go. It's made no sense as an angle, and the people they're working with are job guys or very, very undercard. You can even say mid-card. Most of these guys are jobbing, or were jobbing every week. So I don't know. And then now, of course, what made it even worse is the Hurt Syndicate actually completely killed this group. Like, any chance that this group had of success was completely killed when a real badass group actually came on the scene, right? We talked about that as well. So, I mean, as far as this angle, it was a disaster. The only reason I didn't give it 2 thumbs down, I said, is because of Darby, who he risked his body again. He took those crazy spots, the flying off the, the top of where the audience was, whatever it was, the balcony, or I don't even know what you want to call it, like you said. Jumping into the truck like he did, obviously, is pretty cool looking. And then, of course, taking the swing that, into the
I called it the
metal door.
Thing. The big swing, it's called.
The big swing.
Yeah, well, I got to describe it proper for someone who might be listening on Apple Podcasts without video. But yeah, Claudio did a big swing and slammed Darby into the wall. So yes, he took kind of 2 or 3 pretty decent bumps for this little angle.
Yeah, I mean, there were. I mean, of course, is it worth it? But no, none of anything he does is worth it in AEW. But okay, it's his choice. It's his body. He is obviously a crazy type of guy. He's kind of a loon like that. He's a daredevil. He doesn't care if he breaks every bone in his body. Good for him. But that would be the only reason you could even give anything to this angle, because the rest of the angle has been very poorly written and has made no sense. You listen to Moxley talk, right? And you don't know what the hell he's talking about. You just don't understand anything that's going on here. Like, what does he want? What is happening? You can't make any sense of it, dude. I'm sorry. I'm trying to be not really respectful, but at the same time, I'm just trying to understand it as a wrestling viewer, and I don't get anything that's going on here. I don't understand the point of it all. It's just it's tough.
Well, I can explain it to you. I mean, I think I get it now. It took me a while to get it. This one kind of was confusing at first, but
okay, please.
Unfortunately,
and then see if I can retort any of what you're saying. But please.
Well, look, it's you're not gonna like it. It's not it's not what we all wanted, because I think when this first started, we all had these big aspirations, like the way Moxley would say, "This is bigger than you know," or "There's something big coming." I don't think. He did say that, but I think all he meant is what he's saying. All this stuff about it being a shoot, about talking crap about young AEW wrestlers resting on their laurels and not, really taking the opportunity they've been given, and how good the company can be. It's all just realistic. It's shoot. This is a shoot. This is literally a worked shoot. And the point of it is Moxley is the top guy in this angle, or in this program, and the whole storyline or whatever. And he's the star, and he's trying to elevate the young guys. I'm sorry, Vlad. There's nothing bigger than that. There's really nothing bigger than that. It's all about just getting Orange Cassidy to be like, you know what? All right, I'm not letting this guy take over the company. I'm going to fight back. And then once these guys actually gain some success like this, at the end, Moxley's going to take credit and be like, you see, I pushed these guys. I pushed them to get better. And that's all it is. It's really not. There's no grand storyline. It's not really a takeover anymore, because obviously these 4 guys are not strong enough to take over the company. I think they're just going to be proud of themselves that, hey, we put Private Party in a position to, not Private Party, Top Flight, fucking Daniel Garcia, Orange Cassidy, Darby Allin, and this is meant to supposedly elevate them against Moxley. So that's all it is, man. So I'm sorry. I agree with that. I think it started off hot. It started off mysterious, and the beginning of this was the best part, when we didn't know what it was. Exactly. And then now that we know what it is what it is. I'm sorry. People used to complain that there weren't angles in AEW. Now there's an angle. This is a program. They did a storyline. It's just not one that people are really liking. So, okay, you can't really say they're not doing stories anymore. They're doing a story.
Well, okay, but sure, and there are plenty. Okay, well, you could do an angle, but can you do one that makes any goddamn sense at all? Like, why are these guys?
It makes sense to the people who really follow AEW and who know the ins and outs of it. Everything Moxley's saying.
What do you mean? I follow AEW and I can't make sense of it. Why would these guys be the guys that are starting to change? These guys are the root of the problem. Guys like Moxley are the problem in AEW.
He's saying that you guys have just get fat paychecks, you're getting paid, and you're resting on your laurels, and you're not really trying hard. That's what he's saying. That's true. There is truth in that. You got to admit that. So,
but isn't he one of the people that is getting fat paychecks and basically been doing stupid shit since he got to AEW? Isn't he?
Yes, but I don't think he would see it that way. But
of course, he doesn't see it that way. I mean, look at him. He does, who knows what the fuck he sees?
Well, look, regardless of all that, you did mention to me that in your text that you wanted to generally talk about AEWs. You said, just give me a minute to talk about fucking AEW, right? I mean, there's other programs that are going on at the same time. We're probably not going to talk about a lot of these today, so I might as well just mention something. I mean, there's the MJF sort of Adam Cole thing that turned into him fighting Roddy. There's Jericho and Ishii.
Oh my god!
There's a tag title 4-way that's coming up. There's Hangman Page and Jay White.
No, man.
Julia Hart is coming back. So these are some of the programs that they've been giving us. Mercedes and Statlander also, and then
I know you said that. Didn't you say something crazy like that? Was like your favorite feud of the year or something? Or what did you say?
I mean, I'm liking it. But look, okay. Look, let me just make a point. Let me make a point. Let me ask you a question. So a while ago, you remember we were talking about the future of this podcast, and it was a debate whether we're even going to talk AEW anymore. And then we decided, let's just keep going with it. Fuck it. And let's see if it turns around or whatever happens. So nothing's turning around. All right. Look, we're not going to get cohesive storylines. If you're looking for intelligent, good writing, it's not going to be with AEW. I'm sorry. If you have anyone respectable in the room with you, don't put AEW on because you're going to be embarrassed. They're not going to be impressed by any of it. But the only thing interesting about AEW is to us as wrestling fans. You got to admit, this is just interesting. What's going on? It's a rich kid with $1 billion doing his own show. And how successful or how stupid is it going to be? Or what the hell? And that's basically it. If you're a hardcore wrestling fan, this is interesting in a way. Otherwise, it's not good writing. And if you want, because I'm starting that other TNA show on this channel, I could move it. I could move the AEW stuff to the TNA show, so we could just do This Week in WWE if you want, and I won't have to bother you with AEW. I'll do it on my own.
Well, no, I mean, look, I don't know. Our other guest and buddy Robert, he might want to still talk AEW. I personally, I think that's what I wanted to discuss, why I'm not enjoying it. I mean, obviously there's numerous reasons, or why I'm not liking it. I just wanted to kind of make a general statement on the current state of AEW, but really not just the current, but really since its inception, but definitely the current state, because the current state right now is as bad as it's ever been. This is the worst. This is one of the worst things I've ever seen, as far as a wrestling show goes. On a weekly wrestling show with such that has a national deal, basically, that's on the Turner networks on a weekly basis. It's insane. But okay, a couple of issues, that I have, and I think this just talks about what I like about wrestling compared to what other people like about wrestling. Look, I like when I watch AEW, I just, unfortunately, whether it's fair or not fair, it just looks, it's just how should I word it?
It doesn't look high level. It's not high level wrestling.
Yeah, it just looks like some outlaw mud show. Unfortunately, that's just the way it looks like. It just looks like that. I'm sorry.
Outlaw mud show. Okay. Yeah, I know what you mean. It looks
very low rent, and they're in these they're in these stadiums that are actually sometimes large, but they have very few people, and it just doesn't look good, man. It's dark. It just doesn't. It's not like when I watched wrestling in the '90s, and I watched WCW in those huge arenas, in WWF and those huge arenas in the Attitude Era, or even WWF now, they're in those NBA arenas and they fill those arenas. That's what I kind of think of a professional wrestling show. It's the same reason I don't watch, minor league baseball, or I don't watch college basketball or college football. I don't want to see people that are not the top of their profession, or playing these sports. I mean, I like watching sports, but I don't want to see amateurs do it. And this is what this is. This is amateur wrestling. This is just guys that are not very, very good, putting on a very, very poor show. And then if you add to there's a couple things here though. If you had somebody that actually could book your way out of this and still try to do something with this, then maybe there was something you could do here. Like, even with that whole look of looking low rent, looking, because, and whatever have you, you could still do something with that. But here, like, with Tony Khan's booking, like, it's impossible, dude. Like, none of it makes any sense. There's no rhyme or reason to what happens on any show. It just keeps going, man, the way it's been going. And you can tell just how they're losing hundreds of thousands of viewers every year. They started off like at 1 million people or 900,000, 800,000. They keep going down, 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 down. They're somewhere between 500 to 600,000 now. Maybe, fine, let's be nice and say 650. Okay, but compared to where they were a couple of years ago, it's going like you could look at the charts and it just all the numbers and all the stats just say that the show is getting worse and worse just based on the audience that are viewing it, right? So, I mean, I think, like I said, it could be maybe even I could overlook the fact that it looks as bad as it does, and the small crowds and just all that stuff. If it was booked well,
the silent crowds at this point are just sitting on their hands and not really responding to anything, which is worse than booing. I'd rather have people booing me than fucking just not doing anything. Like this John Moxley promo was dead silence.
People were
a lot of these matches.
Staring at him like, what the hell is he saying? Because that's what my feeling is when I watch. Like, I don't understand what he's saying, So I don't understand the point of anything that he's doing out there and any of that stuff. So, I mean, I think that was just, we could decide. I mean, you could decide yourself. Look, personally, I'll try to keep watching the show as best as I could. I mean, I usually just try to just get through it as fast as possible at this point because it's just really, really bad, dude. Like, I don't even have the words to describe how bad the show really is. Now, I know someone's going to say, well, what about NXT? You don't say that about WWE? NXT is a small show. They're in small arenas and all that stuff. Well, yeah, I said the same thing about NXT. I don't want to watch NXT because NXT has the same problem. But the difference with NXT is there's a couple guys there that could be professional wrestlers and will make it the main roster and have success. There's nothing like that in AEW. And they will be in WWE on their main programming, which means I will watch, right? In NXT I'm talking about. They'll be on Raw, they'll be on SmackDown. There's a couple guys, not the majority, because the majority have the same problem as in AEW. NXT is an indie promotion as well, basically, because they do the same kind of stuff that I don't like. I've already seen enough of NXT to understand that. They do a lot of stuff that I'm just not into. And that will never be on the main roster, for the most part. So I don't have to worry about those guys and those characters and those people, because they're never going to be on the main roster. They'll be cut sooner rather than later. But there's a few guys there that won't be, and they'll make the main roster. And that's the difference. AEW, these guys are not going anywhere. They're not going to do nothing. They're just stuck in AEW.
Well, there's guys who have been successes in WWE in AEW.
Yes, I agree with that. But none of these young guys that are currently there, I see.
Oh, the young guys, I see.
Well, yeah, sure, but the older guys, nobody wants these guys back in WWE. Like, WWE's not. They don't want John Moxley back. They don't care about Chris Jericho. There's only one or two guys that they would want, and that's MJF, and maybe I don't know. Maybe
Mercedes Moné.
Yeah, they probably could. They would probably get Mercedes Moné. I mean, just to have her back. I would say that, but I mean, there's very few others. I mean, with like what? How many wrestlers are on this roster? Over 200. The last time we looked, they maybe want like a handful. They probably want a handful. They would even consider. In my opinion.
Well, I don't know. I kind of disagree with you. I think the wrestlers aren't the issue. I think, like you said, I think this company, the fact that it's on national TV, it could turn on a drop of a dime and be successful. People are ready to watch this shit if it's good. And you're right. It's the booker. And with this has been said to death because it's Tony Khan's show and he's the booker. He's the man.
Well, but the thing is, you can't say that it just can turn on time because everything that's pointing is that it's going. Like, it's just going down. Like, the crowds are smaller than they've ever been. Live attendance is down. People purchasing their pay-per-views is down for the most part. And obviously, people watching the show is down. So across the board, every statistic that you can look at shows that nothing is changing. People are agreeing with what I'm saying. The show's getting worse. I mean, right? I don't see how you could say that it's going to change on just like that and it's going to be good.
No, I didn't say it's going to. It could, but like theoretically.
Well, yeah.
Like
if you
gave Jim Cornette the book right now, I think in a year it would be a decent show. But on top of that,
Maybe.
I think it was slightly more coherent at the start. I think people have noticed a change in the quality of the show. Not that it was great at first. There was problems still logically and everything, but there was some coherent things like, Kenny Omega and Hangman Page. That was a thing that actually, they went through with. MJF and CM Punk had a very coherent storyline that actually made sense. So there were some things. MJF also as a
Cody,
heel,
right?
Cody, yes, and then now they have like almost none of that. So
none of it. No.
So there, it could be better, first of all, but it could have been even better than how it started. If it was just a different booker. But that's like everyone knows that's not going to happen. So we're just going to have to live with what it is, and we just have to accept it. If you want to watch it, you could.
And I have, but I just want right, exactly. And I have accepted it that it's going to be what it's going to be. But I just wanted to the point I wanted to make is why I'm not enjoying it and what I actually like about wrestling. I like professional shows in big arenas that look legit. I don't like if I wanted to watch minor league wrestling, I look for where the hell I'd watch Ohio Valley Wrestling, or I'd watch TNA, or I'd watch anything other than these guys, honestly. So I mean, I'm torn because I understand that AEW is the second biggest company in wrestling, and they have a national deal, and we have been covering them now pretty much since its inception. But yeah, I don't want to watch the show. I have to be honest. Like, it's very difficult for me right now. I'm at the point where I don't mind if you want to discuss it with Robert, and I could just listen in, and maybe you could fill me in on what's going on, and I can see if I'm going to be interested in even discussing it. But because it's really bad, dude. Like, I have to be honest. Like, I could spend my time doing something else than watching this show.
No, I feel you. I feel weird. I mean, look, I'm a wrestling fan in a different way. Like, I'm interested even in like the fucking, what people consider shitty matches on Rampage and Collision. I consider every chance you get on TV to be a chance to impress. And hey,
that's true in a sense. Yes.
We're shoving you on national TV. This is your chance. Do something. Yes. Cut a promo. Make yourself notice. So I will always watch it and judge and be like, all right, you know what? He didn't do so good there. He had a chance and he kind of blew it. Or, he did all right there. Maybe he should get another chance. So I'm not so mad at the show not doing good. You know what I mean? And I think there's WWE.
But why not? You don't feel it's a waste of time? I mean, you're putting all this time to editing these shows and trying to get something out of this product. I mean, wouldn't you rather be entertained than just be like staring at it with your mouth wide open, just thinking, like, what the hell are you doing with your life? Why am I watching this?
As a historian, I am entertained. I think there are things that...
Oh, because you like to see how far the ship is going to sink. It's
not just the ship is going to sink, but people do get chances to impress, and I think some of these people will actually get picked up by Triple H. Triple H is watching, obviously. He's very in tune. He's very in tune with the indies, and TNA and WWE and AEW and the indies and such. So if there's anything there, he'll swoop it up. You know what I mean?
I agree with that. If there's anything there, I don't see it. I personally, I don't know. I watched AEW for, like I said, since its inception pretty much, and I can't, like I said, there's 200 guys on this roster. If we can name 10 guys that I would want to see in WWE, I would be shocked. I mean, we could go through. Maybe we could do this at another time. It's not worth it now, but we can go through the roster and just see if there's 10 guys, legit guys that I would consider. That could make it in WWE as and maybe even become stars. I don't know, or at least make it. So I don't know. I mean, we could do that another time. I can't think of 10 right now for sure. But
I mean, when I used to see Ethan Page on AEW, I thought that he was a very charismatic guy who delivered his lines in a very unique way, and it didn't surprise me that WWE picked him up. I'm like, all right, that makes sense. They're smart. They saw what I saw. He wasn't a fucking complete waste of time. He's got potential. So that's like a type of guy. I mean, Ricky Starks is waiting out his contract. That's another one.
There's a time where like at least 10 guys were waiting out their contracts in this company. But yes.
So yeah, I mean, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, the grand story, like wrestling, WWE, these companies, WCW. There's usually one or two top angles that carry the company for whatever, and they just don't have that right now, unfortunately. So. So it's a dark time. It's a bit of a dark time for AEW. There's nothing really hot going on, but it could always happen. So I guess I'll keep an eye on it. If you want to stop watching, dude, you're a free man. You don't have to.
Right, I understand. I'll definitely.
I got it. I mean, we'll think about it too. We'll have a summit when Robert comes back, the frozen Asian who's conspicuous by his absence today. But hey, it's understandable. He couldn't make the show today. I think he fell behind on the wrestling, and it's a lot of wrestling to watch. The poor guy actually watches the whole show. Can you believe that? Like,
no.
Even the people who review shows, like I listen to Conan and Disco and Cornette, and they're like saying, yeah, this match I fucking forwarded. Then I got to the promo, so they're not watching the whole. Poor Robert is sitting through the whole fucking thing. That's,
I mean, I give him props for doing it, but it feels like it's he's doing some sort of torture to himself. I don't understand why he's doing that. I mean, nobody's asking him to. I mean, I know he feels like maybe he's obligated to give respect to the wrestlers. I don't know what his thinking is when he does that. Maybe he could explain it himself.
No, he's told us. He says he wants to get a full feel for how the show really was if he's gonna, give an opinion on the show.
Okay, well, it's his point of view. I don't think you need to watch some random match 10, 15 minutes worth to see how the show's going. You can see how the show's going without that, but that's just my opinion. He's free to watch it however he wants to watch it, and so are you, Keon.
All right, well, I don't do that. I don't watch the whole freaking show. A lot of matches I skip through. Matches aren't really my thing. I like a good match every now and again, but I'm trying to see, the booking and, I'll take a look at their work a little bit as long as it's not egregiously bad,
Yes, I think I agree with that.
But anyways, okay, we got to move on, man. We're 30 minutes into the show. All we've talked about is how AEW sucks, which is on your background for the audio podcast people. Vlad's green screen background says AEW sucks.
So they could see it. I could see it a little better. I'll move out the way for a little bit.
It's unfortunate, man. I mean, look, I'm not asking you to fake it. If you don't like it, you don't like it. But
I have to call it like it is, man. I mean,
yes, you could, but there's a lot of wrestling fans out there that say they do like AEW. They don't want to hear someone fucking railing on AEW. So once they go to our podcast and they're like, they see, we're reviewing Jon Moxley's segment from Dynamite. They click on it and it's just us shitting on AEW for half an hour. Obviously, they're not going to want to listen to our show. So, but yeah. What can you do?
What can I do? Exactly? I mean, I praise it if there's good stuff. I would praise it, right? I have praised AEW in the past when there's been good stuff there. When MJF was, started when he was his run as champion initially, and when he was a heel, and the stuff with CM Punk initially. Jericho when he first started, was pretty good. Cody had some good moments, So I've praised stuff that I've enjoyed, but it's just so far and few in between that it's like, I don't know. But let's leave it at that. I don't want to take up more time on AEW. Let's move on.
All right. Well, I promise we'll do a little more AEW later. Not much. We'll come back to it. But for right now, we got to jump to WWE because it was a hot week in WWE, to be honest. I mean, we should have really started in WWE, but that angle, the Moxley taking over the Superstation angle was just. Yeah. I don't know. That really drew a lot of attention, so we had to at least comment on that first, I think.